Hey guys, Dario from Infamous. Here we are, 100,000 views later. Uh, we've reached the end of the road with this project of Extreme Cheapskates and the Malibu and everything. I'm still learning with this stuff. This was awesome. This was an awesome challenge for me. Uh, we had it out to the track a couple days ago. I'll get to that in a minute. We ended up switching to the 355s and the 275 Radial Pros that I got off my buddy Scott. They were almost dead when I got them, and now they're almost completely dead. We just kind of I haven't been messing with this too much. I was messing with my other car, the Pomod. We just kind of threw it all together. We had a track rental a couple days ago, and I really haven't driven the car that much. It kind of was just sitting in front of my house, not just chilling out on the street. Had the tires mounted on the rims, and I hadn't really done much with it. I've kind of reached the point where I couldn't take it out just any time and race it because this car is not legal, obviously, right? I had some issues with the track with that too. I ended up getting kicked out, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how fast I was going yet. But it's been a really cool project. I have it all totaled up. I'm sure I missed some shit, and I'm sure everybody's going to call me out on it. I really don't care. It can't be that far off. I challenge anyone to try this, but at least do it with the proper safety shit, right? The main concern is I built the car with the parts to make it go fast, but I didn't take any consideration into making it safe, right? This car, like, to legally go 999, it needs a ton of stuff, but to legally go 10.0, it would have needed a roll bar. It needs axles, transmission shield, flex plate, flywheel shield, and a few other things that you can pick up any NHRA rule book and check out. That wasn't my point, of building this car. This car was supposed to be a fun street car that just proved the track numbers were really just to prove what the car could actually do, because either you make dyno numbers or you make mile per hour numbers, and that'll tell you what the car will actually do. We took this car out and weighed it. It weighs 3,760 pounds with me in it, and I'm 300 pounds. So it's a 3,460 pound car, which is obviously the worst car that you could possibly try to make fast on the cheap. If I would have done a first gen S10, since I had to change the diff and all that kind of stuff anyways, or if I would have done, say, a first gen RX-7 or a Fox body, of course, right? Like a Fox body, that this car would have probably weighed 3,000 with a gutted interior and stuff like that. But I wanted to do a Malibu. I've never done a Malibu LS swap for my own, so I just wanted to try a G body. I'm not a hardcore GM guy. I'm not a hardcore Ford guy. I'm just a guy that likes going fast. So we ended up. I never ended up dynoing it again. I had the first set of injectors that one locked up. I borrowed my buddy Justin's flowed set of decapped injectors. Ran it on that for a bit, tuned it all. Then I took another set of stock injectors out of another intake I had, decapped them, threw them in, took it out in the street, did a log, and the air fuel was overlaid perfect of the flowed injector. So I was like, okay, we're good. Not that that's actually good. You could have one injector really high, one injector really low, but I just decided to roll the dice because I was running out of time, and it's October right now. This is the end of the year for us up here in Canada. It starts getting cold. We've already had snow once this year, stuff like that. So ended up doing that. We ended up putting a nitrous kit. I pieced together a nitrous kit. One of my friends sold me a nozzle with some jets and some lines. Another buddy sold me a couple pretty old, they got to be at least 15, 20-year-old nitrous nozzles. I bought a line off of another guy online, and I borrowed a nitrous bottle off my buddy Billy. So we got all that together because I knew this was my last chance. This was my last chance to go to the track. This is my last chance to make something of this. I kind of spent most of my time the last August and September racing my other car, so I didn't spend a lot of time fine-tuning this on the street. We've just been driving around, doing rolling burnouts everywhere, and all that kind of stuff. So we did that. We put this nitrous kit on. It was kitted for a 60 shot. It's a 37 jet and I think a 16 jet on the fuel side, and just straight, no wide open switch, just off of a toggle switch, and I never tested it or nothing. Like, I literally finished the nitrous kit an hour before we left to go to the track. Went to the track, go to do my first burnout, and the track manager stops me and tells me, I know what you're up to. Don't run it out. Like, don't go faster than 1150. I'm like, well, okay. So one pass, I just did a burnout, launched it. It was really, I touched up the tune a little bit, went back, ran it out to the 8th. It went 660, 660 at 109, I think, in the 8th. I'll have to look at my time slip, but decent 60 foot. And then the track got oiled down and they had tons of cleanup and a bunch of stuff. And then I was like, it kind of ruined my day because it was supposed to be a private track rental, but I didn't expect them to ease up on the rules. I totally expected I was going to get in trouble for doing this. So, it was getting near the end of the day. It was 4 o'clock. They were racing until 5. And I was like, okay, we'll go out one more time. We'll crack the bottle, see what happens. If it sticks, I'll ride it out. And I did the burnout. It seemed okay. Got up to the line, got it up as high foot braking as I could on it, and then as soon as I launched, the tires dug in, hit the button, and just rolled out. And it felt smooth, right? Like, I've ran pretty fast in my other car this year, so this thing actually, it was the smoothest, quickest pass I ever made in this thing. The 26 by 10.5 ET streets I had on this thing were junk, like straight up junk. I could have probably ran really fast a long time ago if I wouldn't have bought those tires for $50. That was probably one of my major failures with this project is I cheaped out on tires, and then that kind of bit me in the ass because all I was doing is skating everywhere on the last 2 outings I had on this car. So make my pass, runs a 10.002 at 135. 155, 60 foot, 640 at 110 in the 8th, like exactly like what I said. I said if this thing would run 650 at 110 in the 8th, it would go 9s. So, like, literally by 0.002 of a second, I didn't run 9s. So I didn't really know what I ran. The pass was pretty fast. I come back, and they let me have it, right? Like, they knew what I was up to. They said they'd seen my videos. I'm sure they're going to see this video. And I said straight up, I totally expected you guys to do this. I don't want a free pass for this kind of stuff. Like, I totally understand what I was doing was unsafe and not to NHRA or anybody's spec. I'm not even going to mention anything else that happened with it, but I've been doing this for 10 years now again. Like, I got back into drag racing about 10 years ago, and this is the most hardcore I've been treated by skating the rules. So I don't like, that's the thing, is like, I don't recommend to anybody trying to do this without safety. It's really dangerous. Going 135 miles an hour on a G-body with stock suspension is probably not the best idea. But if you're willing to do a build and not count the safety equipment, you could do something similar to this, right? Like, anything that's like, I plan to do in the future another build. I'll do it for extreme cheapskate type build, but I'm not going to count the safety equipment because everybody knows that's the expensive part. That's why you have to have it, right? Or else everybody be riding 9s and t-shirts and open helmets and everything like that. So yeah, so that's what we ended up doing. Like, the nitrous wasn't really doing much. Like, it's cold here, probably like 50 degrees that day. The bottle pressure was like 600 psi. Like, I had no bottle heater or nothing. There was only a couple pounds left in the bottle, and I just kind of went for it, right? It could have run 9s, but I'm sure I would have probably got arrested. I don't know, but I've had a lot of fun with this car. It's a really good platform to show people how you can do it on the cheap. Like, you don't always have to buy the expensive parts with LS stuff. Like, I don't really know anything else. I wouldn't be trying to do this with a small block Ford, or I'd have two halves of a small block Ford right now. But I just wanted to show people you can do it for cheap. That's kind of why I did it this way. I know it's not safe. Everybody watching this should know that it's not safe to be doing it that way, but I still did it. So I'm just going to go over a couple other things. I'll give you a shot. I'll show you the tires on the back. 355 gears I put in. I reused everything. Like, I didn't had zero parts. I'll show you the nitrous kit. It's just a super basic. The switch grounds the solenoids. The power goes to the battery. Like, super simple. I'll show you, and then I'll break down the costs of everything. So I'm going to show you a couple videos. These are a couple shots. My buddy Justin got a couple of shots for me. My buddy Tony got a couple shots for me. A bunch of people have been sending me videos over this, so I might add some later on if I ever do another recap video or something. But this is kind of the end of this project for me. It didn't go $9.99, but it went $10,000. It's possible, and we'll break down how I did it here on. I got everything written out, and we'll go from there. So here's a couple videos of the passes, the launches and stuff. You can see that on the pass, the car left real hard, and we'll go from there.
G-body budget build for C7 Z06. G-body out. 10:01:35.
So here we go of the rundown. I kind of wrote this out on a big piece of paper so I could point it out, because I don't do PowerPoint shit and whatever. So, like we started, 1980 Malibu, $200, 6-liter LQ4. That was complete with starter and everything from pick and pull. Half price day, $235. The 7875 turbo from LS1 Tech was $250. The used B&M converter that I got off of a Kijiji, which is like Craigslist in Canada, was $100. The reground LS1 eBay cam was $165. A lot of guys have asked me about that. The guy has not sold another one since I bought it. I looked into my user, like, as I left him feedback, I looked up, he has not sold another reground cam since the 3 that he was selling. The takeout crate motor valve springs that I got were $80. They seem to be working okay. The used China 7450 push rods at $20. They're actually $40 on eBay. If you type in 745 push rods, they're Speedmaster, $40 brand new. Taurus fan, half price stay, $15. The ICT billet engine mounts, they worked awesome, $35. Totally worth it. If you do G-Body S10, whatever, they work pretty freaking awesome. So China 60 mil wastegate, $40. I got that off my buddy Tanner that had a bunch of stuff. It seems to be working okay. It came with a couple springs. It's a bitch to change springs, but other than that, it worked. Our normal BR7EF spark plugs, $20. The first 044 pump from China that died. That thing, it worked. I said it died, but it doesn't. It didn't technically die. It just fucking sucked. So, I put it down, even though it's not on the car right now. Everything mostly on this list is stuff that was on the car. Sometimes you buy extra stuff, you don't put it on the car. I'm not counting that kind of stuff. eBay 3-bar map sensor, $9. With these ones, they're not like you always got to check your what your KPA is at key on versus like a good one, because sometimes they're off and it'll throw off your whole tables and everything. This one was okay. It seems to be hanging in there. Cummins intercooler was from Pick and Pull. We cut the bottom off of that. You can see that in one of the other videos. Just your standard cheap T4 flange was $10. I used oil feed and drain fittings and some heater hose. That's in the other videos with the heater hose for the drain for the turbo, $20. Band clamp for the turbo kit was $20. Silicone couplers, they were from AliExpress, $20. T-bolt clamp, same thing. What do we got up here? Used downpipe I got off my buddy Ryan for $30. The 5.7 liter Vortec plug wires, $27. The big constant duty relay for these 4,000 CFM Taurus fans, that was $15. The ECU is actually controlling the fan. I don't have any gauges or anything. Like, the only one that kind of works, I think, is oil pressure. Intercooler piping, I got some of it for free, but I put it down as $50. The braided transmission dipstick, because I didn't have one, was $45. And then I went overkill on the fuel line and fittings. I have $160. Like, if somebody wants, I can take a picture of, like, down to the dollar of how I got the $160. But out of anything that I could have saved money on, that was probably the biggest thing. I could have probably done it for way cheaper, but this is like a complete legal, NHRA legal fuel system, and I didn't have to use hose. There's no hose clamps. It's all push to connect fittings and stuff like that. Heater bypass hose, that's another thing, $5. I could have just took a piece of heater hose and folded it over. Turbo 400 that I got for free, I explained that in my other video. It was on Kijiji Classified, or Facebook Classifieds. I got it free to take out of the guy's garage. Pump gasket, filter, valve body gaskets, and fluid, $40. That was like $15 for the gaskets, and the rest was the fluid. I forgot to mention when I was talking earlier that this thing went 10-0 at 135 in drive. I put the car in first gear to do a burnout so I won't roll the sprag, and then I put it in drive, and it shifts itself. It shifts at 6,500 in first gear, and it shifts at 6,200 from second to third. In drive, I don't try column shifting, anything like that. I just leave it in drive, map the gas, and let the Turbo 400 do its thing. Drive shaft, Astrovan, I explained that in the diff narrowing video. It was $25. The 447 U-joint, that's the GM to 1350 U-joint, $20. Frost plug to delete the EGR frost plug was $3 because this had EGR because the intake was off earlier. Fan zip tie kit, $5. 2 little circuit breakers for $5 so I don't melt my shit down. $5 for the relay for the meth. The red 25-foot 10-gauge roll of wire. 6 inches of 1/4-inch rubber hose and clamps for the vent hose. That was $3. The original oil filter and oil. I've done an oil change when I broke the pan and stuff like that, but I've also put gas in it. I'm not going to count every tank of gas that I had and stuff like that. This is just the original build. Alright, so we got the 8.8 diff that I got on half price day out of the Crown Vic, 96 Crown Vic, with all the extra little pieces that I got with it, Explorer axles, brake pad, calipers, everything. Everything to complete the complete jet. I got 2 liters of bulk 80 W90 because that's really the only materials I used. I reused the seals and all that kind of stuff. 2 brake lines to connect the
the Malibu brake hose to the Explorer brake hoses. 15 by 8 Summit wheels. They were the Vision 15 by 8 3 3/8 backspace if you're putting them on a Malibu. Any wheel with about a 3 to 3.5 inch backspace will work with this Explorer diff in a Malibu. 355 gears that I got off my buddy Roger for $60. They're working good, quiet. Helped the converter out a ton. It's a pretty amazing you can going from 273s to 355 changes everything, changes shift points, how hard it shifts, everything like that. So that was definitely a good change. I should have done it when I was at the junkyard and got some 355s out of an Explorer or something, but I was in a rush, so I didn't. So it ended up costing me an extra $60. The Dead Radial Pros that I got for free, everybody's going to be like, oh, you got free slicks and stuff, but they were dead, right? Like, they're off my buddy's radial car, and he wasn't using them anymore, so I got them. If you have buddies, you're going to eventually get some free stuff, unless you got some pretty shitty buddies. But me and my buddies are always trading stuff, giving stuff, buying stuff, whatever, so we always kind of ended up like that. So I counted the 26 by 10.5 ET streets, even though they sucked. They were $50. I ended up just burning them off, doing rolling burnouts everywhere. The meth pump that I got off my buddy Ryan for $40. They're $55 on eBay, so I was not that far off from just regular. The meth tank was left over. If this thing still would have had a washer tank, I would have just used that, and I wouldn't have had to spend $10 on that. Typical hop switch off eBay, $20. And I had some used nozzle, and I pieced together some push-to-connect fittings for $20. The fogger nozzle jet and line I got off my buddy Bruce. It was jetted for like a 60 shot already, so that was the nozzle, 2 jets, and the 2-foot lines that I showed in the video. The nitrous solenoids are those ones that I showed. They're power shot. They're probably from like 1995. And a 4-inch main line that I ended up getting off of a local racer for $30. They're like $50 brand new. So the switch, it's just a toggle switch. I'll show you that inside. I ended up getting a wideband off of a guy. It's an AEM newer wideband. It got caught up in he had it on a front wheel drive car, and it got caught up in his serpentine belt, and it ended up wearing through, so the wires were fucked, and he thought the whole thing was fucked. So I ended up getting that for $80. I wasn't going to include a wideband because I was originally using just my portable one, but it's in the car, it's screwed down, so I'm counting it for $80. So it did have an $80. The fuse panel from the original video that I wired the stock harness was $15. And I really didn't know what to charge for this. This is the noisy 044 that I put in after the Chinese 044 died. It's a legit one, but I could never put it in a customer's car. It whines a lot. It gets louder once it gets hot and stuff. So I valued it at $20. So I have $60 total into a fuel pump between two, when I actually probably could have ordered 2 of the cheaper eBay ones, and 2 of them would have done what the horsepower I needed. But then there was twice as much plumbing and stuff like that. And of course the football for $6. That ended up actually, because the spring was so rusty, it popped. It in these last videos, on the 10.0 and all that kind of stuff. The football's still in there, but it's flat. It rubbed through the football and it didn't really last. So with the Crown Vic 8.8 swaps, you don't really need a football because it doesn't squat like a normal car does. It kind of separates like a Fox body would. So you didn't really need it, but I put it down anyways because I'm sure somebody would say something. So in total, before subtractions, we were at $2,502. So then I ended up selling, I just kind of put this piece of paper on top of here, sold the 305 and the Turbo 350 to the guy with the S10 that was in the swap video, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like the episode 3, I think it was. And then the other video, I returned the diff, intercooler, and cores. So that was $43.75. So technically, without returning anything or selling anything off the car, I was at $2,502. With selling, returning, getting $200 for the engine that it came with, which pretty much means I got the car for free. Return the diff, intercooler cores, drive shaft core and stuff. I got $43.75 back. So that adds up to $2,258.25. I just put the 25 cents in because that was what I returned for the cores there. I didn't round any. Most of this stuff is rounded up, not rounded down. I went to the store, the brake lines were probably like $7.25, and I just rounded it up to the next nearest number. I never really rounded down. So, however you want to see it, I went for $2,502 or $2,258. I went almost nice. The only other thing I didn't put on this was the nitrous bottle and whatever nitrous it took to go one pass at 600 pounds bottle pressure, which is probably not even a pound. So I'd have to put if I have to put a nitrous bottle down, it would probably be $100. Most guys can get nitrous bottles between 100 and 150 bucks. So that's really the only other thing I didn't put down, except for the 2 total freebies with the Turbo 400 and the rear slicks. So that's where we're at. $2,258.25, $2,502 if I didn't do it. So I think I did pretty good. This is a pretty realistic price. There's, like I said, there's different ways you can skin a cat. There's different ways you can do this. I'm sure somebody will do it for 1,500 bucks. If I wheeled and dealed and didn't actually pay for anything, I could have probably built this car for 50 bucks, but I wanted real world, everything kind of accounted for, and this is where we're at. So here we are with like the one last underhood shot. Here's our nitrous kit. The solenoids are up there. I have it disconnected right now, but I just tied it into the pressure port on the fuel rail. There's those old solenoids. I just have power running down to the battery, and then the switch grounds up there. So not a lot to it. Works pretty good. Meth kit's still kicking there. Straight washer fluid. Just trying to think of what else I can show under here. Still just the one wideband that I mentioned. You can see where I just butt connected all the wires together from the other guy where it rubbed through the hose. Still on the same shitty front tires. Here's the rear tires. 275s fit in the wheel wells. We had to roll the lip with a baseball bat, but it's still pretty close. Doesn't really, rubs a little bit when it does its gangster lean, but when it's turning, but other than that, it's okay. And there's the $80 wideband that I'm leaving in the car. Here's the nitrous switch, which is a toggle switch with some wire. I'll fire it up one more time. Here's a quick shot of my data log. There's the top of first, 6,700 RPM, 214 kPa. TPS was 100%. I didn't get injector duty cycle for some reason there. It was 14.5 degrees there. You can see on my log over here, here's the pass. And then at the very top of, where are we here? So this is the third gear pull. Ignore the wideband. For some reason the wideband didn't read, but so 14 degrees timing, 14 degrees, and it gets up to, we're almost at the top there, 233 kPa at the very top. 13 degrees, which is 19 pounds of boost, and it had 13 to 13.5 degrees of timing in it. Right there, that's the top right before I let off. So it's 6,300 RPM, 231 kPa, which is about 19 pounds, and 13 degrees of timing. Converter was much happier with the 355s, obviously, but it also made the car shift higher too because there was less load. It worked out really well, and I just wanted to show that. Here's my histograph. Pretty much rides that last row, 14, 15, and yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I've actually sold the car. I've had a bunch of people messaging me before I even had it done, but I kind of built this to do one thing. I did what I wanted with it, so now I'm on to the next thing. My POMOD is going to get a bunch of new stuff this winter. I'm bringing back one of my other projects, and it's going to be a budget build too, just in a little bit of a different way. I don't have any videos posted on my channel, but I have a 1971 Ford Pinto that was originally a 2.3 turbo car that ran 9s. And I sold off all the 2.3 stuff, and I'm going a little bit different of a route with it. And that's going to be our projects over the winter. It won't be called Extreme Cheapskates. We just haven't really thought of what we're going to do with it yet. I want to thank everybody for liking the video, sharing the videos, coverage, like Bang Shift covered it, and a few other media outlets. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like, subscribe, show your friends. Every time somebody says you can't do it, don't believe them, because where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm sure if you have questions or concerns about how I did things, be sure to leave something in the comments below. But other than that, thanks to everybody. Thanks to all my friends that helped me, my wife, my kids, everything like that. But this is the end of this part. And I'll be doing a finale video for this season for my POMOD. I'll have that out in a couple weeks. And then we're going to get started this winter with the next one, which it'll be a little bit different, but it'll be pretty cool. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.